Welcome back my YouTube channel Old Coin Zee collection, your ultimate destination for all things rare and valuable in the world of coins. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating quarters of the 20th century, the coin 1970 Washington quarter, which can be worth a whopping $45,700. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around because we'll break down everything you need to know about this coin, from its history to its current market value. Let's get started. First, let's take a closer look at the Washington quarter. This coin features a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, which was designed by John Flanagan. You'll find his face on the obverse, facing left with the inscription Liberty above and In God We Trust below. It also includes the year 1970, marking the year of minting. On the reverse side, you'll see a majestic eagle in flight, holding an olive branch and arrows. Above, it says United States of America, and below, E pluribus unum. The quarter is composed of a copper-nickel clad, weighing in at 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1970 Washington quarter so special. Normally, you'd expect a typical 1970 quarter to be worth just a little over its face value of 25 cents. But, and this is crucial, there's a rare variety of this coin, the 1970 S-proof quarter, that is worth far more, and it can fetch prices up to $45,700 in exceptional condition. That's right. A coin that could have sat in someone's pocket for decades could now be worth a small fortune. But before you rush to check your change jar, let's go over how you can identify whether your 1970 quarter could be one of these rare, high-value coins. So, what makes the 1970 S-proof quarter so valuable? It all comes down to the minting process. In 1970, there was a special batch of quarters produced at the San Francisco Mint, and these were proof coins. Proof coins are made using a special process, where the die is polished and the coin is struck multiple times to produce a sharp, mirror-like finish. Now, here's the key. These coins were not meant for circulation. They were primarily sold to collectors in proof sets. A typical circulating 1970 Washington quarter will have a more standard, less refined appearance. But if you have a 1970 coin with an S mint mark and it's in pristine condition, it could be the proof version we're talking about. Let's break this down further. Look for these things. 1. Mint mark. The S mint mark is located just under George Washington's neck on the obverse side. 2. Condition. Proof coins are usually graded on a scale from PR 60 low to PR 70 perfect. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my coin is in good enough condition to fetch a high price? That's where coin grading comes in. Coins are graded on their condition, and this plays a huge role in their market value. For instance, a 1970 S-proof quarter with a grade of PR 69 or PR 70 can easily reach up to $45,700 at auction, while one with a lower grade may still fetch a significant amount, but not quite as much. Here's the grading scale. PR 60. Coin with noticeable imperfections, a low grade. PR 65. Shows slight signs of wear, but still in good condition. PR 70. A flawless coin, almost perfect, and typically worth the most. So, if you happen to have a 1970 S-proof quarter in PR 70 condition, you might just be sitting on a treasure chest. Coins of this grade are not easy to come by, but they're out there. Let's take a look at some real-world examples. Recently, a 1970 S-proof quarter in perfect PR 70 condition was sold at auction for an eye-popping $45,700. That's no small sum. The auction world for coins is extremely competitive, and rare coins like this can command impressive prices due to their desirability among collectors. Another example is a 1970 S-proof quarter that fetched $35,000 in a major auction last year. Even coins in PR 68 or PR 69 condition can go for a few $1,000s, but the ones with flawless finishes are where the big money is at. So, where can you find a 1970 S-proof quarter? These coins are primarily available through specialized coin dealers, auctions, or online platforms like eBay. But keep in mind, there are a lot of counterfeit coins out there, so it's essential to buy from trusted sources. Make sure to have your coin professionally graded by a reputable service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC) or the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS). If you think you've got a gem on your hands, that's it for today's dive into the value of the 1970 Washington quarter piece of history. We're diving into a coin that might just blow your mind. This is the 1969 Washington quarter, a coin that, despite being produced in massive quantities, has an extremely rare and valuable version worth up to a staggering million. The Washington quarter, first minted in 1932, has been a staple of American currency for decades. But today, we're focusing on the 1969 version. This quarter was minted during a pivotal time in American history, the late 60s, a decade of change, unrest, and growth. In 1969, over 250 million quarters were struck, but most of these were produced in a typical way. Nothing particularly special about them. So, how did one of these seemingly ordinary coins end up worth the jaw-dropping $4 million? Well, it all comes down to a rare mistake. Let's talk about the error that makes this coin worth millions. You see, a few 1969 quarters were mistakenly struck with a double die obverse, meaning the design on the front of the coin was imprinted twice. The result? A blurry, distorted image of George Washington's face and the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Check out the doubled features, the extra layer of Washington's hairline, and the thickening of the lettering. This error happened due to a malfunction in the minting process. The die used to strike the coin got misaligned, resulting in this double impression. While this error may sound like something that would occur on just a few coins, it actually created one of the most valuable errors in modern coinage. So, how do you identify a double die error? Great question. The first thing to check is the word "Liberty." On a standard 1969 quarter, the lettering should be sharp and clear. But on a double die error, you'll see that the letters are doubled and sometimes look blurry or ghosted. Look closely at Washington's face too. You'll notice that parts of his hairline will appear doubled or distorted. The most visible doubling is often found around the R in Liberty and the T in Trust. Keep in mind that this error is very rare. Most of the double die coins from 1969 are much less obvious, so it's crucial to examine your coin carefully under good lighting. So why is this 1969 double die Washington quarter worth $4 million? The rarity of the coin plays a huge role. Out of the billions of coins minted in 1969, only a handful of these double die quarters made it into circulation. In fact, it's believed that only a few dozen were ever released into the wild. That's why, when one of them shows up on the market, collectors and investors will pay top dollar to get their hands on it. The most famous 1969 double die quarter, which sold for nearly $4 million, was discovered by a lucky collector who found it in a roll of regular quarters. This goes to show that sometimes, treasures are hidden in the most unexpected places. Now, I know what you're all thinking. How can I find one of these priceless quarters? Well, it's not easy, but it's definitely worth a try. The key is to carefully inspect your quarters from 1969, especially those that seem worn or have unusual characteristics. Start by checking your local coin shops, or even roll hunting, where you buy rolls of quarters and inspect each one for errors. Keep in mind that most 1969 quarters will look normal, but with a trained eye, you can spot the ones that are truly special. Finding a 1969 double die Washington quarter isn't easy, but if you're a dedicated coin collector, it's worth the effort. Imagine discovering a coin worth millions right in your own collection or while digging through a roll at the bank. It's a thrilling feeling that every coin collector in history.
Today, we've got something truly special in store. Have you ever heard of the coin 1968 Washington quarter valued at an incredible $4 million? Well, it's not a rumor. It's a fascinating part of numismatic history. In this video, I'll take you through the story, the details, and the reasons why this coin has such an astronomical value. Stay tuned, because you won't want to miss the full journey. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. Over the decades, this iconic coin has undergone a few design changes, but it remains one of the most recognized in the United States. The 1968 Washington quarter, however, is particularly interesting due to several factors that set it apart from other years. The 1968 Washington quarter is part of the standard circulating quarters from that era. On the obverse, we see the famous portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse shows an eagle in flight, designed by the renowned artist John R. Sinek. Now, let's break down the value. The 1968 Washington quarter is usually worth around 25 cents in average circulated condition. But what about that $4 million price tag? What makes this particular coin so valuable? The 1968 Washington quarter's $4 million value isn't a result of just any regular coin. It's tied to a very rare error coin that was minted in that year. A small number of Washington quarters were accidentally struck with the wrong metal composition during the production process. Normally, quarters are made of a mix of copper and nickel, but a few were mistakenly produced with a high silver content, something that didn't happen in 1968, but did occur with coins struck in earlier years. These silver quarters are extremely rare, making them a highly sought-after collector's item. Imagine a coin meant to be worth only 25 cents being mistakenly made of silver, a metal more valuable than copper and nickel. The mistake was only discovered after several years when collectors noticed the anomaly, and it turned into one of the rarest error coins in American numismatic history. How can you identify the 1968 Washington quarter with a $4 million price tag from regular ones? Well, there are a few things you need to know. First off, these silver versions of the 1968 quarter are rare, but they do exist. You want to look for certain clues. Here's the first tip. Use a magnet. Regular quarters won't stick to a magnet, but the silver variant will. That's because silver is not magnetic, but certain metallic elements used in the error coins can be. It's one way to check the composition of the coin. Another way to check is to look closely at the coin's weight. A typical 1968 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but the silver error quarters will weigh slightly more, around 6.25 grams. Now, let's talk about the factors that influence this coin's value. While the silver error version is the most significant factor, the coin's condition plays a huge role in determining its final price. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Coins in mint state or near mint condition will fetch a much higher price than coins that show significant wear. So, if you happen to find one of these rare silver 1968 quarters in pristine condition, you might be looking at a true treasure. So, what does this mean for you, the collector? Well, even if you don't have a $4 million 1968 quarter lying around this history today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable pieces in American coinage, the Washington quarter from 1966. You might not expect a coin from the coin 1960s to fetch a jaw-dropping $2 million. But as we peel back the layers of history, rarity, and craftsmanship, you'll understand exactly how this piece came to hold such a staggering value. First, let's travel back in time to understand the roots of the Washington quarter. This coin was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, this quarter depicted Washington's profile on the obverse and a majestic eagle on the reverse. It's a coin rich in history, representing the founding of our country. Now, fast forward to 1966. By this time, the design had been unchanged for over 3 decades. The Washington quarter had become a familiar sight in the hands of Americans, and most of us probably had seen one without thinking twice. But as we'll soon learn, not all 1966 quarters are created equal. In 1966, the U.S. Mint produced more than 1 billion Washington quarters, meaning most of these coins are quite common. But the magic of rare coins lies in the small differences. In some cases, a minting error or the coin's unique condition can drastically raise its value. And that's where the story of the $2 million Washington quarter comes into play. Imagine walking through your local coin shop, spotting a 1966 Washington quarter, and realizing that what looks like a regular coin could actually be worth millions. But why? Well, there's a particular variety of this coin that stands apart from the rest. The 1966 Washington quarter with a minting error, often referred to as the double die error. This rare coin features a striking anomaly in the design that makes the image of Washington appear doubled. It's an error that occurred during the minting process when the die was misaligned, leaving behind a coin with two overlapping images. This type of error is extremely rare. Only a handful of these double-die 1966 Washington quarters have been discovered, making them highly coveted by collectors. When one of these elusive coins sold for $2 million, it turned heads across the numismatic world. But why such an astronomical price? Another key factor in determining the value of this coin is its condition. In the world of numismatics, we measure coin condition using a grading scale from good to mint state. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A double-die 1966 Washington quarter in pristine condition can be worth far more than one that's been worn down over time. The coin that sold for $2 million was graded as proof 70, which is the highest possible grade. This means the coin was essentially flawless, with no visible imperfections. The combination of rarity and impeccable condition is what elevated this particular quarter to such a high value. But finding one of these coins is like searching for a needle in a haystack. So, what does this mean for you as a coin collector? Well, there's always the potential of finding a rare gem in your pocket change, but it's important to know what to look for. When you're inspecting Washington quarters from 1966, here's what to check for. 1. Look for the distinctive double die error, particularly around the date and Washington's portrait point. 2. Examine the condition of the coin. Coins with minimal wear are far more valuable. 3. Pay attention to any unique features or abnormalities in the coin's design. 4. If you have any doubts, always take your coin to a professional grader for verification. Now, while the 1966 double die quarter is certainly one of the most famous, it's not the only valuable Washington quarter out there. Over the years, there have been other rare quarters with minting errors or limited production that are worth a pretty penny. For example, the 1932D and 1932S Washington quarters are also highly sought after due to their limited mintage. And let's not forget about the 1976 bicentennial quarters, which are still interesting for their historical significance. So, what's the bottom line? A 1966 Washington quarter could be worth in history. The coin Washington quarter from 1967. Now, you might be thinking, 1967? That's not even a particularly old coin. But trust me, this is no ordinary quarter. Despite it being just a few decades old, this coin has some fascinating qualities that have led it to be valued in the millions. Yep, you heard that right. This 1967 Washington quarter has been known to fetch up to $3 million at auctions. Stick around to learn how a simple quarter from 1967 can be worth so much before we dive into the specifics of this 1967 coin. Let's quickly look at the history of the Washington quarter itself. First introduced in 1932, the Washington quarter was created to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. A remarkable figure in American history, Washington's image was selected for the coin's obverse side, and it's been a staple of American coinage ever since. From 1932 to today, the Washington quarter has seen several changes in design, but what makes the 1967 edition interesting is its place during a unique moment in U.S. coinage history, just after the U.S. had started moving away from silverback coins. All right. Let's take a closer look at the 1967 Washington quarter. It features the iconic image of George Washington on the front, designed by John Flanagan. On the reverse side, we see a majestic eagle, symbolizing strength and freedom. But here's the thing. 1967 was the last year the U.S. Mint issued coins with 90% silver content in their quarters. Starting in 1965, the government shifted to clad coins, which were primarily copper and nickel, and the 1967 Washington quarter is one of the final remnants of that silver era. And this silver content is what makes the coin so valuable. Now, The reason that the 1967 Washington quarter can be worth $3 million isn't because every coin from that year is valuable. Far from it. You see, while most 1967 Washington quarters are worth just a few dollars, mainly based on their silver content, some rare ones have unique characteristics that make them extraordinarily valuable. One of the most important factors that influence the coin's value is its condition. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A graded MS 67 or higher could be worth thousands of dollars. But if you're wondering how this coin could possibly reach $3 million, that's where the mystery of error coins comes in. Now, let's get to the part that really excites collectors. Errors. Some of these 1967 quarters have unusual minting errors, and some of these errors are extremely rare. Imagine this: a Washington quarter with a double die error or an incorrect mint mark. These coins are worth a fortune. For example, a rare 1967 Washington quarter with a double die on the reverse side can send collectors into a frenzy. These unique errors happen when the coin is struck by the die more than once, causing certain features to appear doubled or out of place. That simple mistake can turn a quarter into a priceless treasure. Okay, now that you're excited about the potential of finding a $3 million coin in your collection, let's talk about how to identify these rare 1967 quarters. First, always check the mint mark. You'll find it under the eagle on the reverse side. A coin with a mint mark that doesn't belong could be a sign of an error. Next, inspect the coin for double dies or other unusual features. You want to look for extra details that shouldn't be there, like additional letters or numbers, and always make sure to get your coins graded by a professional. This helps you determine their value and ensures that you're not holding on to something that's only worth a few bucks. Coins that are graded higher, like MS 65 or MS 67, could be the ones that bring in big bucks. Let's say you found a 1967 Washington quarter that could be worth big money. What's next? Well, you have a few options. You can take it to a local coin dealer, but for high-value coins, I'd recommend reaching out to reputable auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, where collectors around the world might be bidding for your treasure. In conclusion, while not every 1967 Washington quarter is worth millions, there's still a real chance that the next time you pick up a quarter from your collection, you could be holding on to a small fortune. Whether it's because of the silver content, the minting errors, or simply its condition, this little coin has big potential. So keep your eyes peeled, your magnifier ready, and don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, Old Coin Zee Collection, for more amazing stories and coin hunting tips. Until next time, happy collecting.